Outer Rim News with Austin Gordy, Ray Snedeker, and Ashley Wilbanks.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Outer Rim News Show. Today, we're talking about the final episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This episode had everything, in my opinion. I don't know about Austin and Ray's opinion. We have not really discussed the episode in really any detail at all. Just the kind of, did you like it? Yeah, did you like it? Kind of thing. But I absolutely love this episode. It reinforced a lot of things about the original trilogy, and it brought every episode together and answered lots of questions. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive deep into this episode tonight with a review. But before we can do that, we have to introduce the co-host of the show. First up is Mr. Austin Gordy, and that's because he's first in the list here. Oh my God. Okay, and next up is Mr. Ray Snedeker. Who? Whoa!
I am not Ray Snedeker. I'm what remains. Okay, there we go.
Okay. I'm totally missing this pop culture reference. What is that from?
I don't know if it was great. I love it.
It's something we're going to talk
It
about.
remains.
I thought it was like Mark Hamill's. What is it? Animal Man? No,
What are
Elephant
you talking
Man.
about? That's from this episode. That was the exact.
Oh God! Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I get it now. I get it. Oh, geez. Okay. Sorry.
I was
my
just
bad.
hamming it up.
Yes. My
Hamming
bad.
it up.
My bad. My bad. So, how many times have we seen this episode, Austin?
Uno.
Just the once. Just the one.
I actually
Ray?
went back and watched it a second time afterward. Where I was
Yeah, I
able
wanted to go
kinda-
back and see it. And I just hadn't had time yet due to work and stuff. So,
But,
yeah.
That-
So I've
I mean,
watched
well,
it
that one was
twice.
one where I definitely felt like I needed to have a second go at it to really kind of let it soak in.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I kind of wanted to be able to sit a little bit closer to a TV because when I watched it with my wife, we kind of watched it in the bedroom. So we were kind of far back from our TV, and it's not a gigantic TV. So being able to sit closer to it in my office, I was able to kind of absorb the details, the little nuances better.
I got you. Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times, and then I've seen bits and pieces, just fast forwarding through it to watch again and again.
Mhm.
Because this episode to me had a little bit of everything. The adventure, yes. The excitement, yes.
The
The
drama.
tears,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this had a little bit of everything to me. Even my wife teared up at one of the scenes too. And I was like, I mean, she's a Star Wars fan, but she's not a Star Wars fan, like I am.
Mhm.
But so she even teared up at one point in it, but I teared up like two more times too, which is crazy. We'll get into that. So let's just start reviewing it just like we normally do. From the beginning. So we start off with on Tatooine, and Reva apparently has I don't know how she does it. Does she travel through like a wormhole or something?
The world between worlds.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
how did she get from?
I'll say I mean, it's obviously it's the writers that said she needs to get there, so she gets there.
Yeah,
I'd say the easiest explanation would be that the Inquisitors probably most likely have their own personal ships, kind of like that she took with her when she probably had a personal ship to get to what was the planet he found Dio. Remember she came to Dio alone, so most likely Inquisitors can have their own little ships.
No, in the previous episode, she landed with Stormtrooper.
Yeah, but I'm saying that there's probably a ship on the planet.
Yeah, I'm sure
there's
she
probably a ship there.
procured in some way.
It's the Kylo Ren Kenobi. They
Plus,
need a
this
ship.
is-
They get there.
This episode itself, I felt like you have to, like, it fell in line with the rest of the series in that you have to kind of suspend belief or disbelief or whatever. Like, you have to, you kind of have to roll with it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Yes. So anyway, she ends up on Tatooine really quick, and then comes the worst actor in the show, the redneck. What's his name? I don't even know his name. Big dude with the beard, trying to steal water from
Big Dude McBeardy.
big dude.
He reminded you know who he reminded me of? Wasn't that guy's name like Randall Cobb or Randall Ty Cobb or something like that? It was some sort of or Randall Tex Cobb. It was like some character actor from like the 80s and 90s. You'd see him pop up and stuff. The main thing I can remember him from was Ace Ventura at the very beginning. He was the one that had that dog.
Yes.
You know, he was like, you had to sign for it and everything. That guy, Racing Arizona.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he reminded me of that dude. So I was thinking of him the whole time. Like, how did he get on Tatooine?
And you know that now that you say that, he does. That's him. Well, I don't know if that's him, but that's who he reminds me of. He doesn't talk like him. Yeah. But he talks really. Gosh, they need to find somebody else. But that's neither here nor there. And then Reva.
Listen, we were getting it was the Southerners getting representation in Star Wars. Okay.
That's right. You gonna wait your turn? I got this is my water, him boy.
Well, he had like Bullitt County Southern Bullitt County accent. It's like people's like Candler represent, like watching the new Star Wars.
We got to find out what planet that Southern drawl originates from, because like the British accent is considered like, I think, Coruscanti, I think is what they call it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's probably like Vidalia. It's like VEDALEA or something like that.
Savannah.
Yeah.
Savannah.
Oh gosh. So do we really want to break this down like scene by scene, or do we want to get into the good stuff?
Like we've done every episode.
Well, I'll say a quick thing about that, because I mean Reva's story is big to us, so I mean you can't just ignore it. So she's looking for Owen, because we found out in the last episode, she knows now. She's going after. She wants to finish off anything connected with Vader. I guess she put 2 and 2 together. Knows that Vader has a.
That's another plot hole. That's another one of those things you have to kind of.
It's one of those implied things you just have to, because she doesn't explicitly say like, I want the boy. I know that he's the boy. Everything is implied that she figured it out. Just like she figured out, she knew about figuring out about Anakin and Vader, or knew about it.
Yeah. Right. I think there needs to be, some backstory later on how, some explanation in a book, comic, something, how she figured that out. I don't think they would play that out in a live action series or even an animated series, because it's that seems like something that they would put in a comic or a novel or something along the way. But they really need to explain that to the hardcore Star Wars nerds.
Well, I think the most they probably do for that is probably just a short story, how Reva figured out Luke was Anakin's.
Or, just, baby. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a comic about her. She's just in it and she plays her part, and, they show that she figures it out at some point.
Well, spoilers for later on, but maybe she meets Luke again later as an adult, and she lets, you remember that time those scary Tuskens raided the farm? Yeah. And it didn't look like a Tusken was running after you. That was me.
That was me. Yeah, that was me. But, I kind of got a feeling. I don't know. There's a rumor going around that Cameron Monaghan, is that how you say his name?
Monaghan
or whatever. Yeah. Is getting his own Disney Plus series with Star Wars Jedi. And she might fit into that world at some point.
It's interesting. That leaves a lot of open air stuff that, like, question wise, like, okay, so what does that leave for the game? And what story are they wanting to tell? I guess that's the big thing. Or
I'm assuming after Survivor.
Yeah.
Once they tell the story of Survivor, I'm sure, unless he dies in Survivor, which they're not going to do that.
Give him a clone.
But I could almost see them take it, if they're doing a show, it could be like set, maybe post, like it'll be post Return of the Jedi or something, like it.
But then they'll have to age
maybe
him
even
up
10 years after or something like that, huh?
I said, then they'll have to age him up, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him aging him up, or at least just, I could in some ways or something like that. But it's going to be weird if they were to try to balance a show and a game at the same time like that when the game was the actual main draw.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind like seeing, I mean, after we find out what happens in Survivor, if he's okay or not, if he survives it, I wouldn't mind if he, like, say, kind of like Saw, guest stars, appears in other series that can fit in that timeline with him, and at least, with Cameron at his current age, that he can pull off without having to act too old or too much younger. In his age range,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Andor could be, a possible one he could possibly pop up in. But I doubt it because I don't think they're going to want to touch on Jedi.
Yeah, I just don't know when Andor takes place. Like, how far?
I think it's 5. I think it's about 5 years before
Rogue One
events of Rogue One, I think.
So that puts it 5 years from Kenobi, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's possible. So to continue on, though, the next scene is back aboard the little ship.
I got PTSD flashbacks of The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. I know it. I'm sure. And Vader's Star Destroyers chasing them, shooting them, trying to catch up with them.
But this was like this was the better way of doing it. Like Last Jedi was Last Jedi was not like a non-Star Warsy way of doing a chase. Even with the way the lasers worked, this was a callback to how I would imagine like a Star Destroyer trying to rain fire on a fleeing ship. Because I mean, if you could replace that ship with the Falcon, and it would have been awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of having to dodge fire,
having all the flak and all that kind of stuff. The flak hits. That's what I really love is those deflector hits and the flak hits they call them. Like if you read the old novels and stuff, I just love that. All the little flashes around the ships when they'd be dodging the turbo lasers. That's classic Star Wars to me. So I really love that. And then you had Vader on the bridge. It was just like bring
and the
him
Grand
to
Inquisitor
me.
beside him.
Yeah, it was a really cool moment.
That was a cool dynamic between Vader and that Grand Inquisitor. Because
I'll get to it. Yeah, I was going to get to it in a moment when the big thing happens, which is he realized the only way to get everybody to safety is he has to play on Vader's obsession with him, which is what he does. He leaves. After saying it was a sad little goodbye with Leia too.
Yeah, it was.
Because for him, he kind of treated it like he thought that this was going to be a one-way trip. He thought, he kind of seemed like, there's a pretty good chance I could die down here because I sure didn't do too well the last time I went up against.
But also, like, it was funny how he had to fight half the ship because they were all like, "No, you're not going anywhere."
Well, I like that too because it was like, because that whole group is about protecting the Jedi.
Yeah.
So they see him and they're like, "No, we don't want." I did like that. I really
we got to protect you, and he's like, "No, I'm protecting you," and they're like, "No, I'm protecting you."
But also, there's that little. Well, I was going to say there's that little quiet scene where Obi-Wan's by himself and he's talking to we think Qui-Gon. He says, "Master, I've got to face him again." But that scene right there tells you what I've been thinking this whole time. He still cares for Anakin, especially now that he knows Anakin's alive. There's still that bond between them that he can't bring himself to kill Anakin, right? He knows this is coming down, and that's why he's saying, "Master, this may be it. I may have to finish him off." And it's kind of heartbreaking to know that he still has this care for this dude who's done so much damage to his whole way of life. He upended his life basically. And
especially after I bet he's like, I've got this second chance and I just don't I really don't want to have to go through with it.
Oh yeah. So what were you saying, Ray? I'm sorry.
I was just adding on, along with the people, not wanting to leave. I really like Haja, Kumail Nanjiani's character. I've really liked how, what he's really become. Yeah, he started out, when he started out, he was just, simply a con man. I do like that he's shown that he's more than that.
Yeah.
You know, he's a character.
He's at least a self-aware con man that's trying to be better. I like that. You know,
he's one character I definitely would not mind seeing more of in the future. I enjoyed him way more in Star Wars than I did with him in Eternals.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm a huge Kumail fan, and I was disappointed with Eternals, but with this character, it was like it starts out with he's a cool cameo, and I didn't think he would go anywhere. And his arc, I really like his arc. Like you said, by the end of it, you're like, I want to see more of this dude. I want to see him in a show or.
I could definitely, he.
I feel like his character was fleshed out a lot better than Ice Cube Jr.'s.
I think he was a lot better fleshed out than DJ.
That's true. That's 100% better.
No, I just like
100%.
that he's doing a con, but in the end, he's still doing it for he's doing a good thing, even though he's getting more money out of it than he needs to. Like he does. It seems like he was overcharging them or kind of swindling them on more money than they would need to pay. But he is, his goal was always the same, as he is trying to protect people. Like for sensitive kids, he was still directing them to the path. I think
he also, but I feel like he also had a little bit of an ego. I like that he also had a little bit. He had an ego, so he also used the good deeds that he was doing to feed that ego and make himself look bigger and better.
Yeah.
He just tried to project.
Just the con man of the Force stuff, with the little magnet glove things and
for sure
it's clicking the click, like the little clicker thing to open and shut the shutters. But Kumail was great. And I love how he was a mediator between Leia and Obi-Wan with how things got, because she was obviously upset that he was going to possibly get himself killed, and no, I don't want to get to that part yet, but I did like the little thing that he gave her. That's kind of her start of rebellion. He gave her Tala's holster.
That was Tala's. That's what I thought, but okay.
Yeah. So
her holster.
And the little exchange was like, there's no blaster in it. I'm not giving you a blaster. You're 10 years old.
10 years old.
You have to grow one.
When you kill a man, you can take it from his cold, dead hands. Okay.
Then you stick it in that holster.
and then there's some foreshadowing there too. I think we're gonna. What's his name? Kumail.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see him again, as well as Roken.
Yeah.
Right.
Because Roken seems like a character that's gonna definitely come back in some capacity.
Yeah, because I mean, Obi-Wan went out of his way to say, you're a leader. There's not many leaders around. Yeah. Continue to be a leader. Yeah. Okay, you mean like in Andor?
Yeah.
Well,
also the path seems like it's a big new piece of mythos too. So like the timeline and the lore of this whole underground network, specifically trying to help the Jedi escape the Purge, which is really interesting. So I dig that whole aspect.
Yeah, I want more of that for sure. I want to learn more about that.
Could this be part of Cal Kestis's?
That'd be interesting if the path connects into Survivor, if it's brought up at least, if it's shown. That would be interesting.
Well, I mean, the rumor is he's getting his own show, so
that
that could play a part in it. I don't know.
And then next was he obviously takes the ship, the little backup ship, and he diverts away. And I love the exchange between the Grand Inquisitor and Vader, because the Grand Inquisitor's like, we could take the whole network down right now. Don't worry about one Jedi. And Kenobi, and Vader's like, I want to kill Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And but the best thing about it was,
don't screw this up for me.
The best thing about it was not one peep of dissent after that. He was just like,
okay.
Commander. It was just an idea.
He knows the Grand Inquisitor knows his place, and it's not to complain.
I was just surprised that he gave just a little bit of sassiness to Vader when he says, we're we need to go after destroy this network, and I'm like,
I think he was playing on Palpatine also, because Palpatine kind of, at the very end, spoiler, he kind of had the same sentiment as the Grand Inquisitor, which was, why don't focus on these little things when we have this big thing? Which is kind of, it's almost like he was echoing that sentiment, and that does come back.
Mm-hmm.
But they end up going after Obi-Wan, and then Vader decides to go land on the planet and take him on, and then we get
by himself.
Yeah, by himself. And then it begins like one of my, I would say it's probably one of my favorite lightsaber duels now.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like we finally get a memorable choreographed Star Wars duel. Like this was something like we didn't really get in the sequel trilogy. I mean, oh God, this was a great fight.
Even more so is, because I couldn't say it yesterday or after I watched it Wednesday, because I didn't want to accidentally spoil anything for you, Austin. But because I know when did you finally get to watch it? Was it Wednesday night?
What, this latest episode? Yeah, it was last night.
Okay.
Yeah, after work.
But one thing I loved was it was almost like a mix of how the fights worked, like technically and story wise. It was almost like a mix of the original trilogy and the prequels.
It was still the callback to like the Empire way of fighting.
Well, also it was almost like it had, especially in Return of the Jedi, there was a big emotional weight to the fight also.
Right. They were, I just say Empire because I just feel like that fight was longer drawn out and really emotional, where you're just sweaty and
that was
it's not all about like flipping
and also, and that was also, under the pretense that he thought, I'm going to kill the man that killed my father.
Right.
And then Return of the Jedi was like, I'm fighting my dad. I'm trying not to kill him, but man, is he making me angry?
Yeah, but I want to open up a can on this man.
He went and mentioned my sister. I got so mad.
yeah, you can attack me, but don't you attack my sister.
Oh, here comes the Southern Jedi again.
I don't know why we want Southern Jedi. No, but I agree. The fight was memorable, and like you said, it had the emotional weight, and I love the callbacks to the prequel trilogy fight, like the positions and stuff, like especially. I don't know if y'all caught this, but did you see the episode 1 move where Obi did the backwards block?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of prequel trilogy moves in there.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But I loved how the way they choreographed it. It was like everything was functional. Like it was how it really should be in like kind of real combat a little bit. Like it would just, but at the same time, in the flashiness, it was like the way they choreographed it, they would sprinkle in those exact prequel moves, like these moves that Obi and Anakin had performed on each other in the past or in that training montage, or you get like throwbacks to the movies, like they specifically the Maul. The back and forward blocks, with Maul, he kind of did a variation of that, and it was like, oh my God. And not only that, obviously you get and I was like, I bet Ray drooled at this, but you get was it Ataru? Was that the name of it? Was it 4? What's the form that Obi-Wan is known for, and that's his pose he does,
No, it's not Ataru, because that's
Yoda's, not Ataru. Okay.
I think it's is it Makashi or Shinsho? I think either Makashi or Shinsho.
Let me see. I
know Juyo is like the original form of a pod,
but I love
a modification of Juyo.
Yeah, see, throughout his career, he used Form 3 Soresu.
Soresu, yeah, Soresu. But also, if you noticed, especially when he started to really turn the tide on the fight, he transitioned to Anakin style a little bit. You saw some of Anakin's aggressive moves, almost like he was, he did the backward spinning stuff.
Oh yeah, yep. And if you notice at the beginning of the fight, Vader still thought, this is a defeated Obi-Wan that I'm facing.
Yeah,
right.
This is Form 3, by the way.
I'm one-handing my attacks at everything because I'm Vader and I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he starts seeing how, okay, this is not the same Obi-Wan, he starts using two hands as well. I mean, because he's realizing he's fighting for his life.
Yeah.
At that point, which is kind of, I mean, which little things like that, kind of cool. And then he gets to the point where the tide kind of turns and he uses the Force to smash open the ground, and Obi-Wan falls down into this just big crater, and he proceeds to pummel him with big, stones with the Force. And he's standing on top of the crater with Obi-Wan down there. And I swear I was just waiting for him to say, who has the high ground now? Or so, I knew that was going to come out.
I was too.
But that didn't happen. It didn't happen.
I was kind of relieved that it didn't happen. I mean, he did kind of do the master thing. He taunted him.
Yeah, he did. And then the fight came back. Obi-Wan starts hearing voices.
Oh yeah, well, I like the symbolism in that too, because it started out everything from his past, all his failures, everything that was haunting him.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of not helping. That was just, and then he started to remember, I think it's also brought up at some point in the show was, think about what is, not what was,
mm-hmm.
And also in this, the future, not just the past, think about
mm-hmm.
what's ahead. And he, sees Luke and Leia, the hope, kind of the hope of the whole story for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of gives him that renewed strength is, letting go of those ghosts, of those demons that have haunted him for so long.
And then he proceeds to Force push the rocks out of the way and hop right out of the pit and chasing Vader down.
Hey,
and then
I didn't hear no bell.
Yeah, I didn't hear no bell.
Yeah. No, I will say
Vader.
one more before we go forward. Another parallel is I love the, you have Vader at the top of the hole. It's sort of like symbolic of Maul being at the top of the hole, looking down at Obi in episode 1, sort of like a reflection again. You know what I mean? Like kind of an endlessly
Circles.
it's like a hopeless situation where it's not only a throwback to the high ground that is always like part of Obi-Wan's life, but it's just that, I don't know, it's the symbolism. I really love when we get those callbacks, because it's like Lucas's version of the poetry,
mm-hmm.
where you get the same beats in the movies. I just love,
the ring theory.
Yeah.
Can y'all see?
I
these
think
pictures?
it's called ring.
Or can y'all see this picture?
Yeah, I pulled it up. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was showing up. I have to actually look at it to show it.
Yeah, here's the T90 picture.
That was a what picture?
It's very small.
Oh, it's not showing up very well.
Well, that one's it was like a distant kind of pic.
Oh, this is the big pan shot of them at the beginning of the fight,
which was fantastic. Oh my God, I loved it. It's like taking all the greatness from. It was like those great ideas from Last Jedi with that final fight.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also screams, actually throughout this whole episode, screams Ralph McQuarrie.
Yeah.
All these shots are so Ralph McQuarrie. There's especially this right here just screams Ralph McQuarrie.
Yeah, this one where I think it's like I think it's one right after one of the Reva scenes that we'll also get to. But when it comes back from it, it's just this cool little sweeping shot of the environment, and it goes right into where they're fighting. I love that. Well, another thing, because I told y'all earlier before we did the show that I didn't tell you, but I was going back and watching some of the other movies, especially I mainly watched episode 3, the big fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin. And one thing I noticed about how George directs, and compared with this one, is he doesn't ever get too complex with his directing style, with his camera work. He keeps it extremely simple. He there's not a whole lot of dynamic movement, very minimal movement. And that's I thought that was this was a very big contrast to that, because there was a whole lot of camera movement, but also a lot of great angles too that were really unique. Like I remember a couple overhead shots that were really cool. And another big thing, has to do with how this was just filmed and the technology they can use now is how much the lighting really went into, like the saber lighting went into how it was filmed. Like so much of the lighting was really
from the sabers.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
it's great that they can do that now. It's great that they've come up with a way. I mean, I'm sure they'll be able to perfect it and make it better as time goes on, but they're doing a good job of incorporating these new lightsaber techniques into the films. I mean, I guess it started with Force Awakens.
Well, I think you said you said like the first time was almost like a prototype of that process was Attack of the Clones with the little dark little fight in the dark between Dooku and Anakin.
Oh yeah, you're talking about like whenever it looked like their movements were so fluid. It was like there was probably a power. It was like a wire or something.
Everything was very up close. Yeah, it was like
they're holding fluorescent bulbs.
Yeah, it was almost like just close-ups on their face, and you just see the lighting of the sabers around them. You didn't really see the sabers a whole lot.
Right, exactly. And now they can get that effect wholeheartedly just with. I mean,
just like this shot. I love this. Like just the color contrast. You can actually see it reflecting off of everybody. And I looked for that also when I was watching the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight in Revenge of the Sith. And there were maybe a few select moments where it looked like George made the conscious effort to try to have some kind of lighting to make it look like, the light is naturally coming off the sabers. And the only two times I think I remember directly was it was between Obi-Wan and Anakin when they're fighting on top of that big long table, and I think he was trying to force the saber down like onto Obi-Wan's face, and you can see the lighting on him, like you can see the blue light a little bit. But other than that, when you really watch it, you don't see the blue light reflection, as an actual light source. So I love that they've really taken advantage of the fact that these are weapons that are also a source of light.
Yeah. Now, is this scene prior to? No, this is before. Yeah.
No, this is when he puts him into the ground. Yeah. And then this is when he's back up and he's fighting, and he's a lot more aggressive than he was before.
Yeah, and so he's fixing to actually force push Vader against a rock.
Yeah.
I think
the first time he does it twice, I think.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is when Obi-Wan really shows out. Yeah, right there. And like Obi-Wan is officially back.
Yeah.
Because he's doing stuff we've never seen Obi-Wan do before.
Yeah.
And it's so great that Vader's like, let me take some notes here. When I fight my son, I think I'm just going to do this instead of lightsabering him to death.
I was going to say, he's like, he's just saying, no, I'm going to take this out on your son, on my son. It's just like, he's like, all right, you beat me. I'm going to do this to him.
Well, and one thing I loved about this was this fight does something we haven't really seen since maybe Return of the Jedi, where, at least in live action, because I would say a lot of the animated stuff make use of doing really cool big moments like this, to where like the Jedi's using more than just their sabers and force pushes. He's actually, or more than just their sabers. A lot of times, it's mainly just about the lightsaber choreography. For other force powers rarely come into effect in a lot of the fights that we see in live action. So it's really cool to see them really going all out to show the potential that you can have with these two kind of characters, like how much power can go into it. So you finally get to see something like he's not just raising the rocks up, he hammers Vader with all of them.
Pummels him.
Right.
And I love that also, if you think about it, all through, throughout these 19 years, I think this is the first time we've seen in like either live action or animation, someone who's actually like takes him on. Ahsoka was close, but she barely survived. But Obi-Wan's actually putting up a fight that Vader really can't handle.
Right. Well, it really needs to, and I really like that they do that, because it really needs to enforce the fact that Obi-Wan
was the only one who was
is
his equal.
more powerful
Yeah.
than Darth Vader. It is not a question. It is a fact. And it's like he's always, in the end, been in control. You get what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah. So it's,
I don't know, though, man. I kind of got to disagree. I don't know that he's more powerful than Anakin or Darth Vader.
I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it's always like it's like saying, is Yoda more powerful than Anakin? It's like, of course he is, but Anakin still could.
I would say, okay, raw power. I would say raw power. Probably Anakin wins, but I would say you're also right in the fact that Obi-Wan has advantages that no one else has. He knows weaknesses about Anakin that no one else.
Of course,
knows.
And it's just the fact that he's a Jedi Master. Yeah. All of that comes into play, and that immediately he beats him. That's why I'm like, Obi-Wan will always, at a certain point. I mean, it's just he's just a better Jedi. He's just I guess that's the way of saying it. He's just a better Jedi or a better warrior than Anakin. Just that.
Yeah, but as far as force potential, I think Anakin
potential.
I would even say he might even. I think the way that Lucas wrote that thing, Anakin is the most powerful dude. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, he's more powerful than Yoda. He's more powerful than the Emperor.
Yeah,
they play him though. The Emperor plays him.
It begs for a what if, like Infinity. I would love if the Infinity lines came back, because I would love to see a what if storyline of what if Qui-Gon hadn't died, and I'd love to see how that would play out. Like, because I could imagine like the political intrigue of Palpatine trying to figure out a way to manipulate Anakin, but while Qui-Gon is there, Qui-Gon's probably going to be on. We'll probably figure out what's going on pretty quick. And he would be much, he would have been a better teacher for Anakin, help him work out his, work out the emotions of, being a kid and then dealing with all this stuff you're having to deal with that a lot of Jedi didn't have to do, because they were, basically from birth, they were, raised into that lifestyle.
And you got to wonder what makes Qui-Gon so special. What made him like think outside the box and just was able to understand an aspect of the Force that other Jedi just sort of didn't want to understand or couldn't.
Yeah, I always assumed that his connection to Dooku probably played a big role in that. Where
he was like a Dooku.
It's almost like
they were almost like mirrors, where Dooku was the fault. Was what Qui-Gon would have been if he'd gone bad.
Right. So Qui-Gon was able to kind of have that as a soundboard, as a way to go, or a mirror to go, okay, I can't go that far. I can't be a Sith.
But he understands.
But it's like he understands the whole picture and kind of empathizes with everything and knows and just kind of understands what's going on.
Yeah.
Or has the potential. I think Qui-Gon was just able, I think, because of those types of connections, it opened his mind up more, I guess. That's the only way I could think about it. But then again, it's just kind of weird because Dooku was supposed to have been trained by Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like we're going to be seeing some of that in the Tales of the Jedi stuff on Disney.
Oh yeah, because they did show pictures of a young Dooku, didn't they?
Yeah.
So what? So does that mean? Would that mean that? So Dooku was actually Yoda. So as Yoda's Padawan.
Yep.
Well, that's something I'm really interested to see, because we've never seen. I don't think that's really come up in the mythos much, of actual Padawans he's taken on. Like, did he stop taking Padawans on after what happened with Dooku? Maybe.
Well, we don't know what happened with Dooku too, so maybe some of that's going to get explained in Tales of the Jedi.
Well, as far as we know, I'm trying not to get too off track, but as far as we know, it sounded in Attack of the Clones like he didn't part on bad terms. It was just mutual disagreements philosophically. So it sounds like they weren't on bad terms until they found out, oh, wait, he's a bad guy. He's trying to kill us.
Yeah.
What? No, shame on you.
Now this picture you got up right here, it took me a while to understand what was going on, but he's actually
beating
with the hilt of the
hitting it against his chest plate, hit against his little
breathing bar or whatever that control
some kind of
it is.
Some kind of life support.
Yeah.
terribly exposed thing.
Yeah.
But I love that. But I love that he utilized that. Like, it's such an obvious weakness. Like of course, if I can manipulate this fight enough, I'm gonna bust this dude's chest piece.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna freak up his breathing apparatus. He can't,
But
he
to me,
he can't breathe.
Yeah, to me though, it also goes back to reinforce the idea that he doesn't want to kill Anakin.
No.
He's trying to disable him.
Because he
That's
could
why
have turned the lightsaber
Yeah.
around and it'd be over, game over. But he didn't.
Yeah.
And
also, this is right after he slashed him across the back.
Yeah, again,
actually,
not a killing blow, just
yeah. But actually, it keeps boggling me over and over, like during this fight, how watching him take him on in a capacity where no one else throughout Vader's reign, has been able to put him, in that. I think other than maybe Palpatine or Tarkin, I don't think any of the Jedi has put this much of a hurt on Vader.
No. And in any story that I've read or seen, no.
Cal sure didn't get a check.
Yeah. And then, of course, we get some dialogue here that I think.
This wasn't it, though. This was right before the big moment, which was he had backed up.
Oh, yeah, they backed up. Yeah.
And this great little, I love this little, it was a little wire worky looking, but I can see why they did it, though, because you get this great little visual. I'm sure, once there's some good high def pictures, this looks like something that would be concept art. This picture of him just leaping forward at him in a diving attack.
Yeah.
And does the slash right across his helmet.
So great.
So apparently this is supposed to be what causes him to have the scarring on his head. That's in Return of the Jedi, apparently.
People are saying, yeah.
Yeah, because it's it's the same little area.
Yeah.
And also, if you think about it, it's actually that's a little far
to the beginning.
Yeah.
Beginning of the fight.
But so he sees Anakin.
Yeah. And this, I didn't know that I needed this, but I did need this to piece together. For me, there was always this missing. I could never in my mind say that Anakin was truly Darth Vader because the difference in the voice, I mean, from the end of the Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, in my head, it's just like they're two different people.
Yeah,
right. I see what you're talking about. This is the final. This is finally a way for us to get link our brains to where, and to make it make sense the way that the way it functions. And I love how it was cutting in and out too.
Yeah,
like it would sometimes work and then sometimes wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, we did get my favorite part of the whole.
We did get
thing,
a moment.
Man.
Well, if you think about it, we did get a moment similar to this in Rebels, also with Ahsoka.
Right,
with Ahsoka.
Ahsoka managed to, which is funny. She actually clipped the opposite head of his opposite side of his head. But she only did like a small gash where I think you can only see like his eye and his cheek.
Yeah.
But it did mess with the modulator, I think, a little bit, so you could hear like a mix of the voice actor who played him, Matt Lanter, and then the regular Vader voice, which I think in Rebels was it James Earl Jones again.
It was.
Yeah,
it was. But it's not live action.
No, it's not live action. That's all I was going to say.
I mean,
we got a taste of it, but this is the first real blend.
And I didn't know I was really needing that, but I can finally say that Hayden Christensen and Anakin Skywalker, yes, I can see the transformation. Even though, at the end of the Revenge of the Sith, the mask comes down, and that's supposed to represent him being Darth. There's the change. It didn't really do it for me because I couldn't see that guy in that suit. Yeah. Now I can. Yeah. Now it's perfect.
Well, you didn't notice the angry, smushed burn face watching as the mask comes down?
Hey, and you know what else too? It almost makes up, a lot of the talk about the prequels is, his acting was so wooden, Hayden Christensen. But if you listen to his dialogue now, it sounds like freaking Vader.
Well, what I was going to say,
I mean,
I was going to add on to that was this scene, and I went back and watched some of the prequel stuff, like some of the scenes, and you always hear that about George and how he directed the prequels. He didn't really try to pull the most emotional weight from his actors that he could in a lot of scenes. Was more about just, what was the joke always? Faster, more intense.
Yeah, faster, more intense.
But I love the nuance just in this exchange between them, because in these close-ups that you got. And, I went back and watched some of the scenes, like, Obi-Wan finding out about Anakin. It seemed like there could have been so much more Ewan could have delivered in some of those scenes, but sometimes it really came off kind of stiff and stilted, almost like there wasn't a whole lot of direction that he was given to go on in terms of, like, emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But the nuance here in this sequence, just between both of them, and just delivery and just small little, like this part right here, which was when I think I think Anakin says the line, I am not Anakin, I am what remains.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this look from Hayden. Where is it? It's all just kind of this, you see him start to tear up immediately, right?
Yeah.
It's like, he's really gone, and what have I, this is what I've done he still blames himself at this point.
I was going to say, I bet a lot of people, when I was watching this is my thought on this. I bet there's a lot of people that complained that this was redundant and it just felt like a retread of Revenge of the Sith.
No,
at the end of it. But I was going to say, but what I feel is it's almost, I hate to say that it's a do-over, but I felt like it's a proper way of Obi-Wan coming to terms with Anakin becoming Vader, because back then it's more like he's dealing with a spoiled brat that just finally he's had enough of it, because even when Anakin's on the ground, he's like, I hate you. He's just like a little brat,
Mm-hmm.
But now Obi-Wan really has to come to terms and face this monster that rose from his former student. It's like, wow, you truly are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the way what he says to him too is so chilling.
But well, to follow it up at, first off, after he told him, I'm what remains, he does this thing he never said. I think I think the closest he came was saying, I have failed you. He admitted that in Revenge of the Sith, but his delivery got to be so much better here. Was, I'm sorry, Anakin.
I'm
for
truly
all
sorry.
Of it. And for all of it, that was like the kicker for me, was just like, he's just taking responsibility for everything then.
Yeah. And it made me think about Shmi Skywalker saying goodbye to Anakin in episode 1. And from then on, I'm like, God, like Obi-Wan took all of that weight.
Yeah.
All of that weight. Yeah. And it was Qui-Gon really that did that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Qui-Gon set that in motion, but it was like Obi-Wan totally took that weight. And it's heavy.
Yeah. And then the response from Anakin, I've seen people say it with almost both ways of like how he interpreted it. And I almost came off with like almost a mix of it. But what he says to him is, I am not your failure. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. And also that ending, which I'll get to, is interesting. But because some people said, it's almost like that last shred, in defense of him, or seeing the good side of him. They're saying, it's that last shred of humanity from Anakin kind of reaching out and kind of absolving Obi-Wan. It's like, I did this to myself, no matter what happened, this was still my choice.
I think that was the last. Yeah. I felt like that was the last straw, like the last bit of weight, I guess, off of Obi-Wan was him having to at least hear that from Anakin. And, like you said, it was an evil, like creepy way of it coming off, but like Anakin. Well, if you remember, Anakin did him a favor. He's like at least brought Obi-Wan peace. It was like at least.
Well, also you know. Yeah, I mean, if you notice, if you kind of really look, because it's almost not noticeable if you're not really paying attention to it, but you can see Hayden almost kind of smile when he says, I did, when he admits to, like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. You can kind of see a little, smile appear, like he's almost like taunting him about it.
Yeah.
And then
but he's in no position to fight anymore, obviously.
But what I loved, which was talking when I was talking earlier about the lighting and how it was utilized throughout this whole sequence. This was the most beautiful symbolic part of it, was during this quiet moment, you saw kind of at the beginning of it, when we first saw Vader, he was still a little tinted in red. And then there was this tint of blue that came in from Obi-Wan's lightsaber, and then after he admitted, I killed Anakin, the red just engulfs the blue.
Back, yeah.
I loved that. That was so great in terms of just art direction for the camera and cinematography. So well done. I loved that.
The grin, if you look, like you were saying, like those two shots, the lighter and then the blue, like the way he's grinning is great, because now it's like I've kind of imagined I've imagined that sort of look when Vader would speak certain lines, like in the old trilogy, like when he, like two of them in particular is like the I am your father, but then when he's like, sister, you have a twin sister. Like he just has like a seriously twisted look inside that mask, because you never see a face. It's always just a faceless kind of or expressionless thing, And now to see that glimmer in his eye, like he is evil. I mean, he really. I don't know. I just felt like they did such a great job of bringing that home.
I mean, he just snapping kids' necks left and right. So,
stabbing kids.
Daddy, no more.
But I mean, Obi-Wan finally realizes this. He's done. He's no longer Anakin Skywalker. So he says goodbye, Darth.
Yeah, and that kind of falls into the people thing. I think I've seen articles where people talk about that. It's like, well, Darth's a title. Why is Obi-Wan saying it now? Because it was retconned. I think was it with episode 1 that they started to use Darth as a Sith title?
I think so. Yeah,
I think that's when that officially became part of the canon. And and then Palpatine got the Darth Sidious title in episode 1, and Darth Maul. So, originally in A New Hope, Darth was just his name, his first name, and then it went. But it's almost like it evolved into he's saying it out of almost like disrespect to this, the whole Sith thing.
But also acknowledging that Anakin's no longer around, and that's why when you see him again in A New Hope, he doesn't even say Anakin; he just calls him Darth.
And it's almost like he's taunting him too. He's like, I
always look at it as a taunt.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, don't you like your new title you've earned, Darth?
Darth.
And it's like, and I was going to say one more connection I love with the original trilogy is now that Anakin tells Obi-Wan that I killed him, like I killed Anakin.
Yeah,
it's sort of, it makes sense now that Obi-Wan could use that and say, hey, Luke, like when he's talking to Luke, like, yeah, Darth Vader betrayed and murdered your father. You know what I mean? Like so it's like, I sort of told you the truth. He did kill him
from a certain point of view.
I mean,
Yeah.
But I did like something that could have been so ham-fisted in how it was handled. I do like how nuanced and very emotional and heartfelt it was in earnest in trying to deal with this emotional baggage between these two characters, and I liked how they did that instead of it just being a simple thing of like, well, we got to close up this little hole of him saying I Darth Vader killed your father. It's almost like this is the tortured, torn soul of Anakin Skywalker. He's got this this evil kind of overpowering, intoxicated by the dark side, just kind of engulfed the good man that he used to be.
And like I said, this was the first tear dropper here.
Yeah.
This scene, me and the wife both were like tearing up, like, oh, it's so sad. But now let's move on, because this is pretty much it for Obi-Wan and Darth Vader for the episode. Now
I do like that Vader was screaming after him still.
Oh yeah, Kenobi.
No, he was screaming Obi-Wan. He was screaming. He's not Maul.
Yeah, that's right.
That's for Maul.
Sorry, not Maul. Yeah,
So they both needed to meet at some point, but they didn't. So that Obi-Wan, so that Vader could start it and then Maul could finish it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we're back at
we're back on Tatooine now, and for Reva's to finish up Reva's story here, because she's pretty much on the lookout for Luke, and one of the townsfolk,
they
went to
warned
Owen and said,
"Hey,
got something to tell you here." So he goes back, and we get our first look at Aunt Beru, who was played by the same
Actress, yeah.
actress that played it in Revenge of the Sith, played her, and Attack of the Clones. And they go to planning on how to fortify their little
And I really like,
homestead.
I really like this whole sequence. No,
Mhm.
sorry. I really like this whole sequence with them kind of holding off.
Yeah.
It gave me, I don't know if y'all got this, but this one really made the Larses feel kind of like the Kents to me.
A little bit.
It was like a mixture of the Kents on the Wild West frontier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they really have to, because that's what the wild. You know, you had people that was going to try to take your home or whatever. You know, you had to fight for it. And so I like how they had the secret compartment with the guns, the shotguns and stuff. I'm like, yeah, you got to fight for that moisture.
But yeah, well, I mean, I mentioned the Kents in that, like, also like that. But one reason why I was thinking of them as the Kents was this was the first time we really got fleshed out of how much they really do care about Luke.
Yeah.
Like
they're adoptive guardians. Yeah.
Because you could almost kind of play it off in A New Hope if you wanted to, is that Luke's he just lives with them and does his chores. This one, you really see that they really do love the boy.
If he's gonna stay here, he's got to do work.
Yeah. Well, I love what Reva, finally shows up. She's attacking them, and she says to Owen, like, you really do love him. You really do love him, like he's he's your own son or something, or like he's your own. And Owen just, he says to him, he is my own. It kind of gave me an echo, kind of Jonathan from Man of Steel. The whole, can I just keep pretending I'm your son? It's like, you are my son. So I did like that fleshing out that they got to do with the Larses and how much they really, put themselves at risk to keep him safe.
Yeah. And I was worried this was going to break canon again by having Luke see a lightsaber, but I don't think there was ever Luke's eyeballs going to a lightsaber because he was up through the hatch before
she was chasing it. Yeah, when she came out, I think when she came out of that porthole that he went through, I think she had her saber off of that, she turned it back off.
And when he fell down
he was unconscious.
He was unconscious when she lit the lightsaber, so he still hasn't seen a lightsaber.
Yeah. Luke's going to have brain damage when he's older, and he didn't realize it. That's like
I have to go to Tashi Station.
He forgot how to be a hero.
Uncle Owen, Tashi Station.
It all works out.
But that is, I mean, it does fit the character though, like pre-Jedi, pre-Luke becoming a Jedi. He maybe that's his thing, is he's just a klutz kid. He can't, he's not a tough kid. You know what I mean? Like he could probably, he's a really, really good pilot, but he probably, gets beat up or falls off things. And here he fell and got knocked out, in A New Hope.
Did she knock him down?
But I'm just saying it just seems like he's more prone to just get knocked out and he's out of action. And it's sort of like that at the beginning of A New Hope. Remember, it's like you get the Tusken Raider pops up, it's like, and it kind of just knocks him out, and you didn't really get to do much of anything,
Yeah.
And it's
Speaking of which, I don't appreciate how Uncle Owen accused the Tusken Raiders of, he threw the Tusken Raiders under the bus and said, they're about to come raid us, Luke.
Yeah, that is pretty true.
Like he's telling him, those Indians are going to come take our land from us.
They were like, how about you keep our names out your mouth? We don't want nothing to do with your little farm.
But I do love that moment where, we really see, Reva sees flashes of what happened to her.
Yeah.
And she's finally seeing the consequences of what she's becoming and what she's turning into Vader. And I like that reflection. She sees herself on the ground where Luke is, I think, doesn't she?
Yes. Yeah.
So and then, So and then we don't see what happened.
Anakin stabbing her.
Yeah.
And Vader stabbing her.
Yeah. And then and then we cut back. We don't know what happened. I mean, we obviously know what happened, but we'll know exactly how it played out.
Yeah.
So, Obi-Wan senses something's wrong, zips back to Tatooine as fast as he can. He don't even care what the Larses think anymore. He lands 5 feet from their
land by your house.
Yeah. And then Well, they're about to try to find Luke, and then all of a sudden, here comes Reva doing the kind of carry that Luke had to do with, or that Anakin had to do with Shmi in Episode 2. Carrying him back to the homestead, and I think Owen and Beru are worried that he's dead.
Yeah,
and then he starts to move, and then they're obviously relieved, and they take him away. And I love the exchange between Obi-Wan and Reva, where. I would say this was her greatest piece of acting throughout the entire series.
Yes,
she
sure.
knocked it out of the water.
Sure.
Moses Ingram, but she couldn't do it because and then she was worried that she was him. She's become him, and he Obi-Wan comforted her. He did the Jedi thing. Showing her mercy and giving her peace with herself over what happened to her. What did he say to her? You chose not to do it. You chose, you chose mercy. By doing that, you're honoring all those you lost. Yeah,
and kind of giving her last Jedi lesson.
Yeah,
so to speak, too.
Yeah. So, she had to learn to forgive herself too for what happened. Which she. So. I love that. It's almost like a clean slate for her, or not clean slate, but a new chapter for her.
Yeah, I just hope Owen goes out there and gets that lightsaber off the ground so Luke doesn't find it.
Apparently, like Jedi are just burying lightsabers all over Tatooine, so it's not like it's gonna be hard for her.
Just go out in the dirt and find it. All right, so we're running.
When I see this little broken pipe over here, what is this? Oh.
So we're running kind of long here, and there's 3 more things we really need to hit. Short here. So just pretty much the ending of the show of this episode and the series. Kind of Kenobi comes back to Alderaan, because Leia actually snuck Lola in Obi-Wan's pocket.
He decided
when
to bring
he left.
Back to her.
Yeah, so he has to bring this back to her, and of course. Leia's all dressing up with her holster and, walking out there to meet him. And you can see that that's the beginning of her rebel leadership,
But,
which was amazing. I love that.
What did y'all like her? What Obi-Wan kind of bestowed on her? Her, who she is, because she had asked about her parents. She knows that.
He knows her parents. Second cry.
That was a brilliant little scene.
Yes.
He laid out for her how she was the best of both of her parents.
Mm-hmm.
She was compassionate, kind, and fearless like her mother or something like that. And then, and then passionate.
Yeah.
Basically, the best of Anakin and Padme. Yeah. I love that moment. That was such a great little moment between them.
Tears again on that. And that one,
it's
great. And then they kind of
back to Tatooine.
I still don't agree totally with this, but they, said don't tell anybody that you know me, because
he kind of just says
don't want to
like
break canon.
Well, I think he just says kind of, what is it? Just kind of it can put us both in danger if anyone finds out that you know about me. Yeah. Which it would, if she found, if anybody finds out that Leia knows the whereabouts of Obi-Wan Kenobi, she would definitely be in a lot of danger.
Yeah. So, okay. So you kind of keep canon for there. Then the next thing we do is we go see Obi-Wan pack up his cave.
Oh, yeah.
Pack up his cave and ride out to the Lars homestead one more time.
Which was a good little symbolism of him turning, new chapter for him as well.
Yeah.
That old, the depression, the deep, dark place he was kind of in for a long time. He's past it now. So he can, he's leaving that cave of loneliness. And
I think he had on his robes that he has as Sir Alec Guinness in A New Hope. The dark undershirt and the.
He did it first. He did right then, and then he put on he switched over and put on like something else.
The thing he wore when he was riding
something over it.
I loved what he rode. What he wore when he was riding the Yopi to the Lars homestead. I love that. That would make for a great Black Series figure.
Yeah,
the white and then like the little the goggles.
It was very reminiscent of the Sideshow Mythos Obi-Wan Kenobi statue because it looked very, very similar. I think that's probably where they pulled it from.
And
that
Easter egg. It's probably a reference. I always thought that was a reference to that.
Yeah.
Well, there was also like a comic from like 2015. Someone put a cover up and said like it's very similar to that, and it is kind of similar. Very similar, not exactly identical, but very similar.
But long story short on this, Owen says, "I thought you weren't coming back. I told you not to come back." Or anyway, he does, and then Owen initiates the, "Do you want to meet him?"
Yeah,
and then
I like
he
how
goes
that was
over,
handled.
and then he goes over there. Hello there.
And he gives him the. Well, I mean, we don't see it, but it's implied that he gives him the T14
he has it in his hand.
toy. Yeah, he has it in his hand. I do love Joel Edgerton's delivery of that. Just like all he's done for us, he deserves to at least get to meet this kid.
Yeah, but dude, I love Joel Edgerton's whole performance throughout this whole series.
Yeah,
he's done a great job. That gruff voice too. I mean, it's just awesome.
But it still almost feels like a missed opportunity to have him kind of be restricted to being Owen Lars. Because imagine him being like a smuggler character or some kind of Jedi. Oh man, that would be so cool. But we get the other big thing when he's leaving. Finally, the thing we've been wondering. Qui-Gon.
The whole episode. Yep. And it's
Liam Neeson.
Cry number 3 right there.
Now look, he had the bubbly demeanor.
God.
When he first spoke, he had the bubbly demeanor of like his character from Love Actually. Well, it took you long enough.
Good.
I immediately thought of that before I thought of episode 1. I was like, it's Daniel from Love Actually.
Oh no, dude, that was perfect. A perfect way to end it.
Oh man,
just reaffirming that Obi-Wan is back.
Yeah,
he's
recovered
recovered from this whole
trauma. He's let go of his what's been haunting him for 10 years. He's been dealing with that.
Yeah.
But I love how simple it was too between them, because I know some people were probably wanting to be like complicated, but it's just took you long enough. We got a long way ahead of us.
Yeah. Let's go.
The symbolism of it.
God, man, Qui-Gon was back, y'all. I mean, he was Qui-Gon.
He didn't look a day different either.
No.
Neeson don't crack.
Yeah.
Neeson
No.
don't crack
it just made me go like, we can get a Qui-Gon show. We could do that. We could get a Qui-Gon show going. I don't know how they'll handle Obi-Wan. They'll probably have to get a body double and then.
Yeah, I have heard that Ewan would love to do more, and I know Deborah Chow has said like from the beginning though this has only been planned as a one thing. So I mean, are there any quick if there were to be a second season, is there a quick thing like any quick ideas you could think of that would make sense for a second season?
I don't know. Personally, I want to call it quits on this before it breaks, before you seriously do some damage.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want Vader and Obi-Wan. If there's a second season, no Vader.
Yeah. I would say I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. If Hayden wants to come back and be Vader, do something else.
Well, he's doing Ahsoka, so we do have that. But he's not. I don't think the only way he could be Vader and Ahsoka would be flashbacks. Yeah.
So do another series with Vader. Maybe I don't know if there's a story that's important enough to be told.
I could
other
see
than saving Luke from Tusken Raider attacks.
I could see one idea. You could have like an overarching story beat, an overarching story of him speaking with Qui-Gon recurringly, where they're discussing, something about the connection with the Force, something maybe Obi-Wan can't get to yet, and Qui-Gon's trying to help him understand it. The whole concept of being able to reclaim the whole idea of the Force Ghost is that the consciousness is able to reclaim itself, basically, instead of just becoming mixed in with the collective. It manages to reform itself into the individual. So it could be that, but also the side story could be maybe a Jedi comes along, similar to how season 1 started, but instead of Obi-Wan turning him away, maybe this time he helps him.
It just can't. The story can't be too big because
it can't be too big.
You can't advertise Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah,
like the Empire cannot know.
Yeah,
where Obi-Wan Kenobi is.
Yeah,
and it seems like if he got into some intergalactic conflict, that would bring all the eyes down on this. Hey, Obi-Wan Kenobi, what?
Yeah. So I guess the big thing would be if they do, they need to they'll have to really come up with a good idea that maybe doesn't involve the Empire, or at least the upper Empire. If anybody, like lower grunts become involved, they don't make it any further than the episode that they step into.
The only way I could see them, at least in terms of furthering the Obi-Wan mythos and story, would be in some way them enhancing or furthering that image of him being a crazy old man on Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like when he was talking to Luke, saying that your uncle was afraid you'd go off with old Obi-Wan on some damn full idealistic crusade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I can see that now though. Because
yeah.
I can see that now with how he talks about. Well, also with how he sees Obi-Wan is, he's this great warrior. They're all wanted and dead. He would want Luke to go off on a crusade to take down the Empire, and for him that would be a crazy idealistic crusade.
Right. So it's just unless there's some way of playing with that kind of that part of the canon, it's just I don't know. I feel like it would be almost like unnecessary. I don't know. I don't know what else they could do.
How about this? Sorry.
No, I don't know. I was just going to say I don't know. Other than my own selfishness wants more Obi-Wan and more Qui-Gon and stuff like that. I don't know what else to do.
Would it break canon?
Bring in the Black Sun.
That could be interesting.
On Tatooine. Prince Shizor.
Would it break canon if I would love to see Shizor appear in canon? Would it break canon if like say there was a second season, if there was a beat in the story where he visited Dagobah?
I don't know that would break canon. There's nothing in Empire or Return of the Jedi that says he's never been to Dagobah.
Mm-hmm. So it's I mean, they'd have to obviously come up with something that makes sense for why he would go to Yoda anyways. But it's an interesting, that could be an interesting idea to have them reconnect and him maybe fill in Yoda on what's happened. Yeah, Anakin. Do you know he's not dead?
He's actually like Darth Vader.
He's a machine man.
Oh yeah, he's machine man.
He's a big machine man.
I cut him open. He's in there.
I know it's Anakin.
I ain't a lot of him, but he's in there.
All right.
He's a little charred. He's a little bacony, but he's Anakin.
All right. So that's. I guess we need to wrap it up. I just final thoughts on this thing, and I'll let each of you go. To me, I love the series, even though it had its minor issues, CGI especially. They really need to invest more money in. If they do a second season, invest more money in it to make it look pretty. Not that it didn't look pretty. There was just some scenes that looked really kind of, it kind of took me out. But overall, this episode wrapped everything up in a nice bow and made every other episode even better than before. Yeah, I mean, this was just a great, great series to me. Austin?
Yeah, no, I think it was a great ending to the series. I mean, overall, it was just like on par with the rest of it, but just like that lightsaber fight in the end wrapped it up. I would say overall, I wasn't overly impressed with Reva's or the actress's performance as Reva. She was okay, but I just felt like it probably could have been done better. But not enough to like, oh God, I hate that. I hated that role or that character or whatever. I just felt like it was kind of whatever. It was subpar or whatever. It could have maybe somebody could have picked it up, maybe done better, but it did what it needed to.
But there are, I mean, just quick though, there are rumors that she might get a series. I've heard. Have you heard that, Ashley? Moses Ingram.
That'd be interesting if they.
Would you be interested in that? I would.
I would still care. Yeah, I'd still check it out because I mean, there's always room for growth. Yeah, and it's like I just felt like her just playing this whole time, playing that just mean character. It just felt. I don't know. It didn't. It never. It never felt as scary or as real as I felt like maybe somebody else probably could pull it off, But that's just it's just an acting thing. But other than that, overall, great ending to the series. So good. Love it.
Ray, final thoughts?
You know what? We've kind of been in an age lately, maybe with Star Wars, where it's been really hard, at least with Jedi stuff, to stick the landing. We kind of missed the ball on, that with Rise of Skywalker and Boba Fett recently. I mean, my opinion different from everybody else, but this one, I really think they nailed the landing with how they ended, especially. So much new stuff. I think this is the first live action time that it feels like they haven't been so scared about the Force mysticism. It always felt like there was kind of a fear in J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson to delve too far into the Jedi stuff. They want to kind of keep it surface level almost. But I loved it here, and all the new stuff, really making use of the lighting, the fight choreography, the fight camera work, especially in this final episode. But yeah, I loved it. Probably might be my favorite right now of the Disney Plus Star Wars series. If not my favorite, tied with Mandalorian.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up. If you want to comment on this, please go ahead, leave a comment, tell us your thoughts on the episode. We'd love to hear that. And don't worry,
that subscribe button.
Yes, hit the subscribe button. Stab it with your lightsaber.
Put it on
but also,
news.
this is probably not the end.
Or use the other side of the hill and smack it like you're smacking smacking that life support thing on Vader. Smack
Kenobi
it.
Kenobi
Till you break it.
Kenobi it. But don't worry, this is probably not the last we'll talk about this episode, because I think this episode gives us a lot. There's a lot to digest in this, and a lot of things that it affects, in other movies that we'll probably hit on eventually down the line. But that's it for this episode. See you next time. May the Force be with you.
Star